greatest boxer of all time. Now, if that hurts your feelings, then you really need to, I guess you need to toughen up and be more thick-skinned and not get offended by somebody's opinion, because it wouldn't offend me if you said another boxer was the greatest boxer of all time, because at the end of the day, it's an opinion. It's not factual, even though I believe he's the best and he's my favourite, and it's not saying that other boxers are not good, because I've got many boxers that I like. Interesting enough, a couple of comments, I appreciate all of the comments, even if you don't agree with me. A few of you said, you know, Pacquiao's had 7 losses, you know, like LOL, or making or laughing, or trying to qualify and say, how can he be the greatest of all time if he's lost 7 times? But I totally disagree. I don't see it like that. I don't look at the fact that the man's got 7 losses. I look at what he achieved. He's an 8-weight world champion. There's no other boxer in history, in any different weight division, who's ever achieved more than Pacquiao's achieved. I also look at the fact that he's got 7 losses influences me to come to the conclusion that he's the greatest, because losing is part of life. And there's many boxers who have got undefeated records, but you could argue, have they fought as many champions and tough opposition as Pacquiao has? Probably the answer is no. So it's not about, you know, because you take a loss, that means you're not the greatest. It's how you come back. To which I answer, Pacquiao's come back like a true champion. Every loss he's had, he's come back and he's won another title. And the fact of the matter is, the man's 42 years of age and he's still fighting at the highest level. He's going to be fighting Errol Spence. So I can give you, and I already have done, I've done a lot of videos now, and believe me, I even appreciate all the critics, I really do, because it doesn't offend me. It does make me passionate to get my point across, but it would be unfair of me to force my opinion on you, which I wouldn't do. I'm not going to force someone to agree with me. It has to come from your own heart. So those of you that agree with me that Manny Pacquiao is the greatest boxer to ever do it, great. Well, we agree on that, but I still respect those of you that have got your own opinion, because I think you should have your own opinion in life. I'm not just going to say a fight is the greatest just because everyone else says it. I'm going to say it because I believe it in my own heart and in my own opinion. I just think I love his style. I love the way that he fights. And, you know, out of those 7 losses, some of them have been robberies. You know, in my opinion, he didn't lose the Timothy Bradley fight. And I really like Bradley. He was a brilliant fighter, Timothy Bradley. And he's a really good commentator and he's a good human being, right? So I'm not taking anything away from him. It's not his fault. He fought a great fight. But in my opinion, many other people's opinions, the judges were very unfair that night to Pacquiao. The Jeff Horn fight, you know, he gave a good account of himself, Jeff Horn, but he didn't win that fight. But look, they got the decision. That's what counts at the end of the day. And you guys are right. Yes, Pacquiao's lost 7 times. But for me, that doesn't overshadow what he's achieved. He's won most of his fights. He's had 71 fights. He just went and beat recently Adrian Broner, who's a 4-weight world champion, who was 30 years of age. Pacquiao was 40 years of age, 10 years as senior. He beat a great champion in Adrian Broner, who's going to go down in history. He beat Keith Thurman, a great fighter, in my opinion, a better fighter than Adrian Broner. Undefeated at the time, 30 years of age. Pacquiao being 41, and he beat Keith Thurman. Now he's going to fight Errol Spence, who's an unbelievable fighter. So Pacquiao fights the best. In most cases, he beats the best. Okay, he didn't get the decision against Mayweather, right? I don't make any excuses about that. But that still doesn't take away the fact that I think he's the greatest, because of how many weight divisions that he won in, 8, because of the manner in which he won, because of the style of his fight, and he's relentless. He fights everybody, doesn't make any excuses. When he loses, even when he's been robbed, he's such a humble man and a good sportsman. He doesn't complain. He just says, okay, I respect the judge's decision, you know, I'll be back. And you know, he started off as a minimum weight. You know his story. He had to put like rocks and stuff in his pockets to make the weight because he was so light. So the way that he's built up the weights, the speed, the relentlessness, unbelievable. But look, at the end of the day, like the saying said, it's an opinion. It's like arseholes, everyone's got one. So at least, you know, I have my own opinion. I don't just follow what society says. And you should have your own opinion. And you know, let's stay on your theory, right? Okay, Pacquiao had 7 losses. You know, Muhammad Ali had losses. Mike Tyson had losses. You know, all these great fighters. Some of my favorites, Sugar Ray Leonard, arguably one of the greatest fighters of all time. He had losses. Tommy Hearns had losses. Duran lost. Chavez lost. Lennox Lewis lost. You know, there's only a few fighters that haven't lost, but that doesn't mean that they're better. You know, Joe Calzaghe never lost, brilliant fighter. You know, James Toney had losses, but the man's unbelievable. James Toney went from middleweight to heavyweight. He won the heavyweight title. He won in all different weight divisions. Roy Jones Jr. had losses. So it's not intelligent to say, oh, Pacquiao's got 7 losses, so that means you can't say he's the greatest. You can when you look at his achievements, but it's not a fact that Pacquiao is the greatest fighter of all time, but it's also not a fact that he isn't, because it's a sport which is going to be opinion based. It's not like we can say, well, it's a fact that, you know, that there's a sun, and it's a fact that it rains, it snows. You know, these are facts, but this is opinion based, and I explain that throughout the videos that I've been doing. But look, I'm going to waste my breath if I'm going to try and convince people who think otherwise. But you've got to come up with something a bit better than that. But at the end of the day, all you've got to say is, I disagree with you, and I've got my own opinion, and I respect that, even though I'm not naive in believing that a lot of you are going to respect my opinion. Probably not, right? Because the attitude of some people today. But many people agree. Many experts now are saying Pacquiao's got to be, if not one of the greatest, the greatest, because of what he's achieved inside and outside the ring. Look at what he's doing for his country. Look at the fact that he's probably going to end up being the president of the Philippines, right? And look at the money that he gives to charity, and look at the way he conducts himself. So there's that, and there's the way he trains. Look how hard he trains, and he's still, you know, performing in his 40s, and he was unbelievable. You know, throughout all the ages, when he was in his 20s, his 30s. So have a look at his career. But yeah, I will do breakdowns on other fighters who I think can definitely fit that title. So it's kind of a mythical thing that I came up with, because like I said, it wasn't an easy decision for me. Now it's easy. It took a few years because there were a lot of other fighters, probably like most of you, that I like and I still like. It doesn't mean because I say Pacquiao's the greatest that, oh, I don't like any other fighter. No, I like loads of other fighters, but I just happen to think, for me, he's the most entertaining to watch, never in a dull fight, always value for money with Pacquiao, comes to fight, never comes to draw, or comes to, you know, get a decision, or you know, use his jab. Comes to fight. He's a fighter, and he's developed into an excellent boxer as well. So he's evolved, and I think there's nothing wrong with losing. I think it's how you come back. Like I said, pretty much everyone's lost apart from Floyd Mayweather, Rocky Marciano, and Joe Calzaghe. You know, there's probably more fighters, and you guys have got good knowledge, just as good as I have, if not more. Some of you less. Let me know in the box below other fighters you can tell me historically who have retired undefeated. And you know, Joe Calzaghe is one of my favourites, right? And again, it's not unintelligent if someone said Mayweather's the greatest of all time, and I've even said I could see that as an opinion. I prefer Pacquiao. You might prefer Mayweather. You know, there's a lot of people that never gave Joe Calzaghe the credit. They say, oh yeah, he's undefeated, but he never fought anyone, which I think is ridiculous. Of course he fought good opposition. He was a great fighter, but people are always going to have their opinion. You could be perfect. You could be a saint in this world. You could never have lost, but someone will come along and say, oh, you're not good. You know, good. That's just people. And most of the opinions, not all of them, some of them are ignorant. They're just people get emotionally involved rather than speaking from facts. But it is a challenging one. But you know, I'm not an agreeable person to agree. I've got the courage to speak up for what I believe in and my opinion. So yeah, but let me know, because as I said, I can't think of any other fighters in history other than Floyd Mayweather, Joe Calzaghe, Rocky Marciano. I mean, Mayweather retired 50-0. Rocky Marciano 49-0. Floyd broke his record with that extra win, and Calzaghe 46-0. But just because those guys didn't lose, it doesn't mean that they're better than every other fighter, because there's been so many great champions, and we've got good champions today. You know, we've got Crawford, we've got Spence. So far, these guys are undefeated. They might end up retiring undefeated, you just don't know. But I don't think being undefeated necessarily qualifies for you being the greatest, because if that was the case, then an undefeated fighter would be better than all of the amazing fighters that we've had throughout the time in boxing, throughout the different ages. And I wouldn't, there's not many fighters who you could name that are better than Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran, Marvin Hagler and Tommy Hearns, and these guys all lost. They lost because they fought the best. So, you know, there's lots of boxers that have got padded careers, and they've, you know, they might be 25-0, 30-0, but they haven't fought anyone. They've been fighting journeymen. That's another argument. So that's why I come to the conclusion that I don't agree, and it doesn't make sense to point out, you know, you're just going for the flaws. You're just going. Now, if you just go, well, Pacquiao's lost 7 times, and it sounds dramatic because it's 7 losses, but you've got look at how he's won. He's won so many times. He's had so many knockouts, and he's won in 8 different divisions. No one's ever done that before. Coming from a minimum weight, you know, flyweight, featherweight, bantamweight, and then going all the way up until welterweight. When he fought Antonio Margarito, that was kind of like a light middleweight. But as some of you said that are intelligent, Pacquiao is not even really a natural welterweight. He's having to kind of eat extra food to make the weight and get in with guys that are bigger, and that's why I determine him being the greatest, because he's always beating guys that are naturally bigger than him. A smaller man beating bigger men and doing it consecutively and beating great champions. It's not like Pacquiao fought bums. He didn't fight bums. He fought legends. You know, he fought guys in their own right that are Hall of Famers. You know, so many different great fighters that he fought. De La Hoya, Ricky Hatton, Floyd Mayweather Jr., Keith Thurman, Adrian Broner, Eric Morales, legends. Antonio Barrera, legends. Marquez, legend after legend. And the guy's been doing it for so long now. It's like he's been in boxing, but he's still going. And, you know, if he beats Errol, then I'm speechless. But if he doesn't beat Errol, still for me, he's the greatest, because he took on everyone, you know. And when he lost, he didn't make excuses. He didn't come up with false allegations or blame people or do this or do that. He just got on with it. And that's a true champion in my opinion. And a man who's got respect, who conducts himself well. In my opinion, champion inside and out of the ring. But at the end of the day, that's my opinion, and that doesn't have to be your opinion. So let me know in the box below, who's the greatest for you? Who's your greatest fighter of all time? Why? And yeah, and I like it. I like people having different, I mean, majority of people, since I've been doing these videos, have been agreeing with me, right? Which is all good and well, but in life, it doesn't serve you in the long run to always have people agree with you. We can disagree, we can agree to disagree, but we don't have to be. I'm not going to be nasty about it. It's not that's not how I want to live my life, and you don't have to be like that, right? You're going to have friends that are going to agree. I've got friends who don't agree with me, and I respect their opinion. We're not going to fall out of being friends because I think Pacquiao's the greatest and they disagree. They think someone else is. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this fight with Errol Spence, and I am looking forward at some point to doing talking about other fighters that I love, that I think might be the greatest in their weight division. There's a lot of boxers that I like, and I'm sure it's going to get a mixture of opinions. There are some fantasy matchups I would like to do. Obviously, that's going to be opinion based. We're never going to know. One of the fights that's always intrigued me would be Sugar Ray Leonard against Mayweather, both in their prime. Tommy Hearns against Floyd Mayweather. I'd like to do kind of like a fantasy breakdown and do it with all of you, see what you guys think, and then maybe do some heavyweights, you know, Tyson Fury versus Lennox Lewis, you know, James Toney versus Kawasaki, something like that, something fun, which is going to be opinion based, right? Anyway, have a great day. I'll talk to you in the comments. Whether you agree with me, whether you disagree with me, I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. It doesn't bother me, and that's my opinion. Pacquiao having 7 losses makes no difference to me with my decision of him being the greatest to ever do it.